Hi, and welcome to Geek Zone Wrestling, a podcast by two lifelong wrestling fans who just want to share their thoughts.
And have a little bit of fun while we're at it.
Oh, I mean, that's a given. But I'm Kyle,
I'm Danny.
and yeah, I think that's the best intro we can come up with for right now.
Podcast is called Geek Zone Wrestling for obvious reasons. We are geeks. We hang in our little zone and we talk wrestling.
Yeah, and today we just wanted to kind of go over what thoughts we have on why wrestling is so big for us, what got us into wrestling, and just, you know, the reasoning behind our fandom.
Yeah, I think that is the best place to start because, without that, there would be no point in us even talking wrestling because no one would understand why we do what we do. So, Kyle,
No, you go first because you, being older, were a fan before me, and your fandom goes back further than mine.
okay. So for me, I'm an old guy. I'm 46 years old, born in 77.
And you just pissed off a bunch of people who are like 10 years older than you and above.
Oh yes, I may have, but still, at any rate,
Ric Flair thinks he's younger than you, but
he's nuts. So the story that I was told by my parents is that my dad was military, and he had taken his troops to a wrestling stadium or a stadium to see a wrestling event. And outside of the building, my mom taught me to walk. I took my first steps outside of the arena where that wrestling event was going on. And from that point on, I guess it was destiny that I'd fall into it. Let's fast forward a little bit. 1984, I'm actually, starting to become a somewhat human. Because those years prior, it's like, you're so young that really intellectual thought is not even a concept yet. So I'm living in Texas at the time, and Texas was huge, is huge on professional wrestling. At the time, they had their own promotion called World Class Championship Wrestling, and the big names there were the Von Erichs.
speaking of them, I mean, if you want to know anything about the Von Erichs, they are so influential that they actually did a movie based off of their lives called The Iron Claw, starring Zac Efron.
Correct.
I wouldn't use that as fact, but I mean, it just shows how influential they were.
They were incredibly influential. So 1984, I my dad had just been stationed to Texas, and we're living there, and I'm flipping through channels and I come across this amazing event and I was mesmerized by it. There was the squared circle and a scaffold above it, and I was witnessing the Rock and Roll Express against the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette. One of the coolest things I've ever seen at that point. And from that point forward, that match got me hooked just by itself. I was a huge Rock and Roll Express fan from that point on, and I got into every wrestling company. Period. I started watching every Saturday. I'd I'd wake up early, watch my cartoons, then watch WWF. At the time, it was WWF. It wasn't WWE then, but to the likes of Hulk Hogan, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Big John Studd, the big guys from like WrestleMania 1. And I'd watch, at the time, it was not WCW, it was NWA. And I would watch the likes of the original Four Horsemen, the Road Warriors, who later became the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. All of the greats. I saw Sting when he first came onto the scene, and that is all of these things culminated in a passion. Like every single week, I would watch every wrestling show I possibly could, and I watched World Class Championship Wrestling with the Von Erichs and Simpson brothers and Iceman King Parsons, and uh, I got to witness the Dingo Warrior, One Man Gang. I got to go to a ton of live events. They weren't a huge deal at the time, but it was a huge deal to me. I got to meet people like Michael P.S. Hayes, Dusty Rhodes. I got to see him go against Ric Flair. All these different events, and it was just so awesome. It was the coolest thing ever. But I mean, that's kind of my origin story. What about you?
It was actually my next door neighbor, and like best friend growing up. He was into it, and he's like, "Hey man, you gotta like watch this." Doesn't seem interesting. And then WrestleMania X7. He's like, "Dude, okay, no, you have to see this. This is awesome." And I got to TLC 2, and I'm just like, "Oh my god, this is fantastic." And of course, right then and there, I wanted to try it at home.
Naturally.
I didn't care what they said. Like, I was going to try that. We had access to chairs, tables, and ladders. Heck, we had trash cans, we had decks, we had trees, we had pavement. And I'm watching that match, and of course, the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, you know, that got me into the tag team scene and into the TLC style. And then you get to the main event, Rock and Austin.
Could not have been a better one.
And that event, I'm like, okay, dude, you were right. I need to start watching this. So then I would watch Raw and SmackDown. And I just like, man, these guys are awesome. Now, at first, I didn't know the whole, like, storyline predicted stuff. And then Rey Mysterio came over, and he became my favorite because it's like, wow, look at this dude move.
Yeah, he's something else. He can still move.
And then, like, growing up in the Attitude Era, obviously, like, promos were just so cool to me. Like, having them just trash talk each other in the ring. But then, like, the Ruthless Aggression era started. Mysterio came in, Lesnar came in, Cena came in, Orton came in, Batista came in. Evolution started. And then it just, I don't know, by this point, I was so into the storylines behind it. I just, I couldn't leave.
I don't blame
It
you. That was a great time in wrestling history.
I don't have the deep connection you have with the learning to walk outside of a live event,
That's just kind of a side note.
and then like you found it on your own.
I
Like
did.
I was told, hey dude, you should watch this. I think you'll like it. I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't sound like my thing. I was wrong. Like I mean, I've always been a sports guy, but I don't know. I thought that was going to be boring.
And stupid because everybody at that point had already known that it's scripted.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was still young, so for me, it was everyone said it was fake. I thought they were saying like, these guys aren't actually doing anything, and I'm like, well, no, that's not true. And they're like, oh, we're not saying that they don't do stuff. It's just they're trained to do it to prevent.
Injuries.
I mean, not that they prevent injuries, but you know, they're basically stuntmen and athletes like mixed together.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that when I was like 10. But my origin story is a little shorter and more straight to the point. It's like you're shown this, you love this, you continue this.
Not a bad origin story either. I mean, either way, it's a good entry.
I did watch some WCW, but it wasn't the same. It didn't have The Rock. It didn't have Stone Cold Steve Austin. By the time I got into it, Jericho was not on WCW anymore.
Yeah, he had moved over during the Attitude Era.
And you had just God, the promos with Rock and Jericho were always golden. Like no matter who they were paired with, the original DX was a riot. Although even when they reformed, where they were a riot.
They're still a riot.
Yeah, but that was where mine started. And honestly, I wasn't expecting it to continue this long. But I'm even if I don't watch Raw and SmackDown anymore, I still watch every premium live event that I can. You
Yeah,
know,
and I'll thank you for coming over and allowing me to watch them too.
um, like every Tuesday, what happened on Raw last night? Every Saturday, what happened on SmackDown last night?
Yep, I feel that I'm going through my Facebook feed and everything looking for what happened.
So, what is it that you feel is most important? Like, if you're watching a wrestling show, what is it that you're looking for from that show that you feel like if the show doesn't do this, I'm gonna be disappointed because this is what the show should be.
I'm looking for storytelling. Like I want a story.
I mean, obviously, you
That
you want action
yeah, I
no
mean,
matter what happens, but
yeah, I want the matches to be good, but it's the story behind the matches that's always made it for me. I guess, like as a younger kid, I didn't realize that, but it was the story that sucked me in. It wasn't just the fact that these guys were battling out hand to hand combat. It was the stories that were being told. And when I started, it was still bad guys versus good guys. Hulk Hogan versus Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov. Uh, you know,
although Hulk Hogan and Iron Sheik never really ended.
well, exactly. That was my point. But it was still unknown that it was completely and totally scripted, and everybody was actually friends in the back.
Except for Hulk Hogan and Iron Sheik.
It was good versus evil, and that was the story you were getting. Um, you had the good guys doing the moral thing, the bad guys cheating. And you could clearly define who was who. Typically, the majority of the bad guys had a manager of some sort because they're the ones that helped them cheat. And the good guys sometimes had a manager, but not for very long, usually. Um,
How did they handle the face and heel turns back then? Because it would be a lot more difficult without it being like hugely.
Face and heel turns didn't typically happen back then. Like, if you were a face, you were a face, period. If you were a heel, you were a heel. The Four Horsemen, they were heels pretty much their entire careers. It wasn't
Because
until,
nowadays you can pretty much be like, they're gonna turn them.
or, even when they turn them, they still get cheered. So they're still kind of face, but kind of heel. And the lines have been so blurred in the last, what, 20 years, 30
Sorry
years?
to get you off topic. I
No,
just
no, this is a good point. Those lines have been blurred so much that it's almost hard to tell who's good and who's bad because they're all both.
like Austin.
Yeah, like
He can do
Austin.
anything heel, and they'll be like, "We love you."
And you get guys like Cena that are supposed to be babyface, and people are chanting Cena sucks.
But the funny thing about him is he made it work.
Yeah, he did.
Like he's like, okay, you want to boo me, but you also want to cheer me. All right, well, how about half of you cheer me, half of you boo me, and you know, I love it.
And that's cool by me. Like I love I love this era of wrestling now because it is so well, let me say it can be so surprising because anything can happen. You know, anyone could come out at any time and it's going to make sense because this person, you know, did that to that person 2 years ago and they're coming back for retribution, or they're coming out to save them because this person helped them, regardless of the fact that this person is now heel, and it just doesn't matter.
And not only that, but nowadays they will even hype it up to make you think something's going to happen just to pull the rug out from under you.
Yeah.
They're very mind gamey.
You know, back in the day, it was Jim Crockett running NWA. And NWA, you know, it eventually became WCW. And all of the talent, you know, they just went by WCW thereafter. But Jim Crockett was a genius at coming up with all these different concepts and creating an interesting show. He had Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen. He had the Road Warriors. He had the Rock and Roll Express. He had the Steiners first, you know, and they were with a guy named Kevin Sullivan, and he created this Triple Tower of Doom, they called it, which I think they should come back with that match. By the way, in WWE, I think that should happen. But
I
anyway,
want him to come back with Armageddon Hell in the Cell.
oh, that'd be cool too. But at any rate, you know, they had these really brilliant things going on. You know, you had people like Jim Cornette, who was, you know, the Midnight Express's manager, and about 20 other guys. And he'd come out and he'd throw fireballs in someone's face, clearly cheating for his team. But all of these entities that Jim Crockett brought in, they were incredibly talented. It was hard to distinguish which was better, NWA or WWF. And eventually, after the whole WCW turnover, I kind of leaned more toward WWF. That was kind of
Ted
my
Ted
mainstay.
Turner butchered it.
Yeah, Ted Turner did butcher it. He made a lot of bad calls as far as I'm concerned, and then
He let the wrong people run it.
he did absolutely no question about it because he had such talent. He had, you know, the Sid Viciouses, the Lex Lugers. You know, he had all these really big names. He had Sting. He had all this talent in his hands, and he put it in the hands of people that could not for the life of them make it as interesting as WWF. And it's a shame because if I'm being completely honest, at first NWA was my favorite because of the Rock and Roll Express and the stories that they created along with them. And then once that WCW switchover happened, I ended up becoming more of a WWF fan. I mean, I was into the WWF anyways, but it just kind of became the better brand.
Funny thing is, you keep talking about the all these groups. You even mentioned earlier Michael P.S. Hayes, but you've not
The
mentioned the Fabulous
Freebirds.
Freebirds at all.
Yeah, and that's because the Freebirds, they roamed. They were not specifically
That's
with
what
one group
birds
or
do.
the other. So, like, I saw the Freebirds in WCCW with the Von Erichs. I saw the Freebirds in NWA. I saw the Freebirds in WWF. I mean, they were all over the place. I mean, they were absolutely an iconic group. Uh, and, you know, one of the things that I think they did best, which I think personally WWE should bring back, is the six-man tag titles.
Now, a lot of other organizations do that, especially in like the Lucha Libre and like AAA and even AEW. They have the trios
Yeah,
titles. Um, and especially since lately the WWE has been so faction based, it seems like it would be good. The only problem is I don't know how you would do it with the brand splitting. If they still had it to where like you had one set of tag titles,
Yeah, like the Unifieds.
yeah, then it's like okay, well, you have just the groups of two going after those titles and the groups of three or more going after the trios.
What if you took that and just expanded on the idea and said, okay, so we have these two separate brands with two separate sets of, singles champions, tag team champions. Let's have a battle of the factions across both. And there's your six-man tag titles.
And it works.
I mean, you wouldn't have to create a unibrand title for anything else, but it at least would give light to the factions that are currently in the WWE.
Or you could even uh like how WWE has introduced the new speed for what is it? Is it just for X or is it YouTube or what is it?
X was, I
But it's
think
like,
Speed was
3 minute
for,
matches or something.
yeah, it's really, really short matches, and you
And
have
it's
to win quickly.
yeah, it's like based off of high flyers like Cedric Alexander.
Yeah,
Um but you could do something like that where you have a separate event where it's sort of like an Andre the Giant battle the
Battle Royal.
that thing. Um and like maybe once every, you know, not even necessarily every pay-per-view, but every other pay-per-view or something, you know, you have a number one contender set up to face the current champions.
On WWE factions,
Yeah.
something like that. Just pitching that out there,
Sort of like the
TKO. There's
sort
an
of like
idea
the
for you.
mixed match challenge that they had.
Yeah. Now, I do have to say that I don't think that wrestling would be where it is today without Vincent McMahon. He was a genius.
Yeah.
He's the one that kind of brought it all together. Well, literally brought it all together.
Yeah.
He took all those regional wrestling organizations and pulled them all into one big conglomerate and made it what it is with WrestleMania.
Yeah, his business mind and just overall understanding of how it worked helped elevate it to a whole new level. Like it ended up becoming just right on par with, UFC and boxing as I, obviously those are still huge,
Mm-hmm.
but it has its own huge fan base, just like the UFC does. And it's other companies have tried, but even Tony Khan, with all of his money, I'm sorry, has not contributed enough for me to say he's WWE level.
No, not even close. I mean, he has a bunch of the old WWE guys and some of the new ones and this, that, and the other, but he doesn't seem to know what to do with them. It's like they're almost like a farm league. You get the guys that are on their way out and guys that are trying to break in.
So, getting back to what you're looking for, like in the wrestling show, you want the story to be like the main aspect. In regards to that, is it just do you want the story to only be for like the people on the card, or do you want to alternate?
No, I don't care who it's for. I just want a good story. Like I think the storyline should follow the matches that are occurring, but at the same time that doesn't go to say that you have to have storyline stuff happening on every show before the match. You could have something, this week for, let's say, you know Sokoa and Tama against Kevin Owens and Jimmy Uso. Okay, so let's go with something recent. You could have something storyline based this week and not even have them wrestle. Just something happening in the background that they'll show on the Titantron or whatever, and then next week, something happens. They don't even have to be live. But I think the storyline is what drives people to get behind the characters. I mean, if it was just guys going out into the ring and wrestling, well, that's kind of bland. There's not much to it without the story behind why are they fighting each other.
Yeah, that's basically the exact same for me. Um, Attitude Era, like I said, promos huge. I love a good promo, and guys who can't do promos are very hard for me to get behind.
Yeah, me too.
But I really like the different characters. I love the character work, and like you said, people can't get behind said characters if they don't know who that character is and what they're going for.
Right. I mean, I love the thing I love most is the stories that are being told are captivating. They got people like, you know, Randy Orton showing up at someone's house and, proceeding to destroy him. And that is definitely something that would create a rivalry. All these stories of, I'm trying to reach the pinnacle of the wrestling pyramid, the spectrum. I'm trying to get to the top, and you're standing in my way. You know, everything
And
that
then,
they
like,
do.
you want to talk about recent with the whole Cody Rhodes finishing the story.
Yeah,
That's going all the way back to Dusty.
yeah,
Like they managed to make it so that it's this is a generational storyline.
right. You're absolutely right. They pulled every string that you could. I mean, they pulled every heartstring, especially like with last WrestleMania and Cody losing. And it's like, he's got it. Oh my God. I can't believe what I just saw. And then this year, with Cody finishing the story, that was probably one of the best things I've seen in a very long time. And I'm kind of excited now because the Bloodline storyline is getting interesting again.
Because now it looks like Solo's looking to take over with Roman being absent,
Right.
and he brought in Tama to take out Jimmy.
Yep. And it sounds like the other brother's coming in too.
Yep, Jacob Fatu, I
Jacob.
believe.
Yeah. It sounds like he's going to be coming in as well. So this could set up a number of things. God knows what WWE's come up with and what they're going to run with, but this could set up, you know, the new bloodline against Cody and his crew.
Yep. I also had someone say that they thought it would be cool if you have Solo, Tama, and Fatu against Roman and the
Roman and the
Usos,
Usos. Yeah, I saw something about that too.
and have it be like Roman's official send off. Because he wanted to take time off, and he's filming a movie right now, apparently.
Yep.
Um,
As is The Rock.
and Cena.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought like that idea would be kind of cool because then it would be old versus new, and it would be a torch passing.
The only thing I'm scared of when it comes to something like that is it seems very similar to what they did with the NWO. You had NWO, Then you had NWO Red and Black.
You had the Wolfpack,
Yeah,
but
and
again, that was WCW.
yeah, that was WCW, and I chalked that up to Bischoff's stupidity
And
and their
Russo.
whole writing crew. But I don't want to see that repeat because during that era, I'll be
No,
honest,
I'm thinking like Roman and the Usos versus the new young.
Bloodline.
Yeah, and they pass the torch. That would be cool.
Yeah, passing the torch would be cool. What I don't want to see is a reenactment of red and black, white and black.
Or worse, when the NWO came to WWE and everyone and their grandmother was joining it.
Yeah, yeah. I can't get behind that because I mean I'll be honest. During that era, WCW was not appealing to me. Like I thought there were a lot of people that thought that match where Sting came out of everywhere with a baseball bat in a trench coat and there were 50 of them in the freaking ring. They thought it was awesome. I thought it was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. They had all these fake stings.
Really?
Yes.
That?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the real Sting came in and he cleared out everyone and blah 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 blah. But that was probably the dumbest idea I had ever seen put on TV. And there's been a lot of stupidity, don't get me wrong, but that's one that just kind of struck me the wrong way back then, and I was like, this is stupid. Oh, look, there's a sting. Oh, there's a sting. Oh, there's a sting. Another sting. Holy cow, look at all these stings. Which one's the real sting?
None.
It's like, where's Waldo? Sting edition.
No, actually, in that case, it's where isn't Waldo? So I already know that who your current favorite wrestler is.
My
But
current favorite?
well, I know who your most common favorite is.
Okay.
But who have been your favorites? Because obviously, when you first started, he wouldn't have been.
Right. All the way up. So it started with the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton. He was my dude. I loved Ricky Morton.
Wow,
Uh,
you're kind of selling Rock and Roll Express half short.
Robert Gibson was cool, but Ricky Morton is the one that he always kind of stood out to me. I thought he should have gotten a singles world championship. He got the opportunity, never won it. I felt like he was wasted as far as solo championship type of matches. His talent was wasted. Uh, and I got into WCCW around the same time. And the Von Erichs and the Simpsons. The Von Erichs were really the mainstay for me. Kevin Von Erich specifically. Kerry, I didn't get into too much until his WWF days. Uh, when I came in, it was it was just before David, the brother, died. And that was a tragic situation. Matter of fact, their entire family situation has been tragic. But Kevin was my favorite in that particular group. For WWF early days, my favorite was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Loved Ricky the Dragon, high flyer. I felt like his talent was unbelievably wasted. Yeah. Like he never got the title he deserved. He never got the big match that he deserved.
Who's going to finish his story?
Well, I assume
his son was wrestling. I don't think he is anymore.
Yeah, I think.
But I think I know who's coming after Steamboat.
Okay, let's play trivia. What's coming after Steamboat?
I'm assuming that after Steamboat, it would be HBK.
No.
Oh God, don't tell me it's Bret Hart. Oh, you would probably be going for Hulk Hogan, I guess.
Well, I was always for the Hulkster, and be it as it may, whatever he did is whatever. But as a wrestling personality, he was the reason that wrestling became good. Period. Ric Flair would have never been known without Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was the name in wrestling. He was the reason that everything culminated the way it did. I was around for WrestleMania 1, the original. I got to
Well, yeah,
watch
that's why
it.
they call it one.
I got to watch it as it happened, and I Ric Flair was an afterthought at that point. Hulk Hogan was the man. I mean, the man, not the Becky Lynch man, the man. Uh, but after that, it became Bret the Hitman Hart.
Oh man,
Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be
in his mind.
in his mind. But no, he was a
No, I'm not trying
fantastic
to.
technician.
Yes, but he was nowhere, in my opinion, just my opinion, he was nowhere near what he thought. His attitude far exceeded. I always thought that Owen was the better Hart brother.
See, I didn't. I thought that he was the more laid back and he was the funnier of the two, but Bret had something.
I'm not talking strictly like the rest. I'm talking overall with the personality and everything. I liked Owen's.
Well, see, I think Bret played off everything he did pretty well. His promos
I'm not
were
saying he was bad.
decent. His promos weren't like rock level, but they were.
Please, come on.
Yeah,
Who's rock level?
exactly. That's my point. But I mean, he was in his time as good as anybody in the business, and his excellence of execution.
I do have to say he had fantastic names.
He did, and he lived up to most of them. Uh, I do feel very, very unfortunate for him how things went down. I don't agree with a lot of that entire situation where he got the Montreal screw job and all that. I also don't agree that he should have been allowed to walk away with the title and show up on WCW with it, which was kind of what it sounded like he wanted to do.
What he's claiming he was going to give it up, but when you refuse to lose, how else are you going to?
Well, in the end, McMahon could not take that chance because his contract was up after the pay per view. That following Monday, he could have very well disappeared, showed up on WCW holding the title, throw it in a garbage can like Bischoff essentially was planning to do.
Pull a Medusa.
Yeah. And, that would have looked terrible. And I think Vince was painted into a corner and he did what he had to do. I still don't like it. I don't like it at all. At the time, I didn't like Stone Cold. I know that's sad to say, but I did not like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was still, I was on to Bret Hart. I was like, dude.
But I will say the match where the two of them, where he put him in the sharpshooter and he passed out. That match is one of the greatest stepping stones in Stone Cold's career.
Oh yeah, that and that 316 uh,
Austin
promo.
316 says, "I just whipped your ass."
Yeah, between those two things, that's what created Stone Cold.
And that was off the top of his head.
Yeah.
Like he was basically told, "Hey, he's going to go out there. He's going to talk trash about you. You go out there and you return it."
Mm-hmm.
Because the original plan had to be scrapped because of the curtain call.
Right. So yeah, Bret Hart was my dude. Loved Bret Hart. Hated the situation. After that, I couldn't get behind Bret when he went to WCW. I just couldn't. WCW was.
See, that is the Bret that I saw.
Yeah, he was pretty much done after that. I mean, he wrestled a few matches and then got hurt, and he was done.
See, I didn't see the old school Bret and Owen until much later, watching like on the WWE Network.
But like I saw Bret Hart when he first came out in the Hart Foundation, him and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and they were facing like Demolition and the British Bulldogs, which by the way, Dynamite Kid, he was my dude too. I love Dynamite Kid. Um, but I saw him early on, all the way through, and he was awesome to watch. He really was. And then gradually,
And then, Bret Hart got screwed over in Montreal, and you started siding for the screwer. Well,
uh,
assistant screwer.
not exactly.
Dude, you are a huge Shawn Michaels fan, and you know it.
Yeah, I was. I was. I wasn't necessarily early on. Like, I hate to even admit this, and I really, really wish I didn't have to, but when he super kicked Marty Jannetty, I wanted Marty Jannetty to be the one that came in and dominated. Knowing what I know about him now, I'm glad he disappeared. But originally, I wanted Marty to take down Shawn. And then, later on, I became a huge HBK fan. And as far as I'm concerned, he is probably the best performer aside from, maybe The Rock.
I do like, I feel like his character work got better after he got off of the substances
Yeah.
and, found his religion and, came back from that back injury. I feel like he had a new appreciation
I,
because it's not that he wasn't good back then. He was always a showstopper. Like I've watched, he's another one that I've gone back and watched old matches, and he always, I don't know, he had an arrogance with everything he did,
mhm.
and it was just the later Shawn Michaels, like the 2000s Shawn Michaels. He seemed to like more delve into the characters and try and be different each time, like
Now, my
keep it
favorite,
fresh.
my favorite Shawn Michaels was the original DX. Like him and H were just hilarious.
They still, like when they reformed, they were comedy gold.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, they always have been. And I remember going
Like
to a show here in Cincinnati, and that was the one that they have in their music when the entrance hits, where they put on those glass face masks
and
with
then
the
they put
windshield wipers.
yeah.
That was Sergeant Slaughter.
And I loved when they did that like weird looking at each other, and then they look at the person, and they look at each other, and they look at the person.
Yeah, that original idea was fantastic. The two of them were hysterical. They're still hysterical, both of them. Even, isolated or together, they are absolutely hilarious.
So if he wasn't the one after the Hitman,
So yeah, after the Hitman, I kind of latched on to, I started latching on to people like Stone Cold. And I did not like Diesel. I really did not. Yeah, that was a terrible gimmick. Uh,
he did his best with it. I'll give him credit.
I did not like Sid Vicious.
He did not do his best with it.
No, he was terrible. Uh, really, it ended up becoming Stone Cold after that because of the whole Vince McMahon Stone Cold thing. and that's kind of what drove me into, the more recent days. For a while, wrestling wasn't great. In between, Bret Hart's exit and the appearance of the Attitude Era, there was a time period where it was just eh. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't great. They had some really boring stuff going on. Their storytelling was lacking. I blame Vince Russo. Uh,
Oh, I blame him for everything.
but I would have to say, throughout that time period in between, it would be Stone Cold or The Undertaker. The Taker was just the epitome of awesomeness.
That guy. I will never get sick of that man. I hear the gong or I hear glass shattering, I will go right back to the old days
Oh God, me
of
too. I mean,
wrestling.
you saw it. You saw it at WrestleMania
Dude, we
40.
both jumped up out of our seats.
Yeah, I could not believe it. I was expecting to hear glass shatter.
Yeah.
Instead, I hear the gong and I'm
Well, that's
jumping
because
out of my
they
seat.
didn't want to pay him enough. So, do you have any, like, now that obviously Undertaker, Rock, well, mostly The Rock, Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels, all of them have retired? Do you have a current,
A current favorite.
someone that, you will be looking forward to watching above pretty much anyone else?
I do, but I feel like he's getting close to the end of his career too. Seth Rollins. The man can do anything.
That's very true.
And he has been doing anything for what, 10, 20 years?
He's like a brunette Dolph Ziggler,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
a little better because I'm not trying to take anything away from Dolph Ziggler. That guy,
he was an amazing talent that
he
I
he
think
can he can do pretty much anything athletically. He's sold unbelievably. I just think that Seth is a little better personality wise
I do too.
because he can almost make anything with this new character that he had. He could make anything work.
Yeah,
And I mean, we should find out, like, I don't know, 6 to 9 months when we'll get an estimated return time.
yeah. I hate to see him go because he is so fantastic at what he does in every aspect.
He's the man's man.
He is quite literally. So, what about you? Take us back.
Well, WrestleMania X7, I came out with a whole lot of people I was rooting for. Obviously, all three teams in TLC 2, but The Rock and Austin. I mean, that really got me. And then I started watching SmackDown and Raw, and eventually, like I said, Jericho came in. He was great on the mic. Cena came in, not ruthless aggression Cena, but Doctor Thugonomics.
Oh my God.
Like I was more for like the funny guys,
Yep.
but I would say that my first. Oh, I really don't want to take away from Stone Cold, but I think The Rock got me first
The Rock got everybody. The Rock was
because
amazing.
just his promos were better than Austin,
They were spot on.
but Austin was a close second. I mean, the guy put over what?
What?
Exactly.
What?
He got
What?
he got a single word over. It's like yeet. Yeet never would have gotten over if Stone Cold hadn't gotten what.
Now, not to take anything away from Stone Cold getting what as a catchphrase, but
I mean, you got Hacksaw Jim Duggan with ho.
and then you got Farouk with
Damn.
damn.
Uh,
Technically, Ron Simmons, not Farouk. He was beyond that.
um, but the two of them were like my main two. and then I had the tag teams, and then Brothers of Destruction. I had so many people are anti badass Undertaker. I
I loved him.
freaking loved him because he went from being arguably this super cool, like, I don't want to say demonic, but
He was.
supernatural being to just this biker dude who came out and roasted your ass. And I loved it. I think it was John Cena that he was having a promo with. And he told him, was like, I may not dress like Satan anymore, but I'm still down with the devil and I will go medieval on your ass. And that basically told you everything you need to know. It's like, hey, I'm still the old me. I'm just like reincarnated.
Yeah.
And then they added like he was fast and he was striking and he made himself stay relevant. And I just having him come in and just wreck people like Stone Cold, but also having him just have comedic moments, especially with Kane. Like I remember one of the many times that Funaki and Michinoku got their asses handed to him. He was trying to teach Kane how to do the last ride, and Kane lifted up Funaki and then just like threw him backwards over his shoulder. And Undertaker's like, what the fuck was that? He's like, picked him up. He's like, no, you don't pick him up and throw him backwards. You pick him up and slam him down. So then he went over, grabbed Funaki, put him up, delivered the last ride, and pointed to Kane, have him do it again. So Kane picked Funaki back up and gave him the last ride. Between that and the 2000 Royal Rumble, Taka Michinoku and Funaki were just obliterated.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody thrown out so many times.
And they just kept showing when Taka Michinoku got hurt. They just kept replaying that over and over again all night. Dude, like, busted his head on the ground, and they're all like, hey, cool, look at this. This is funny. Now, to be fair, at the time, I don't think they realized that he had gotten hurt real bad.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But, like,
one of my favorites came out of that X7.
Just having Undertaker be able to do the comedic moments, the quick paced match, the promo skills.
Yeah. That's what did it for me for the biker version of Taker, was he got to do promos.
So during the Attitude Era, I had a lot. Like the three tag teams, the Dudleys, the Hardys, and ENC, because at this point they
were comical.
They de-gangreled.
Yeah.
They were broodless. And then the Brothers of Destruction, Rock, Austin, and then Jericho came in, the Rey Mysterio came in, Thuganomics came in, and then Randy Orton took over. Rey Mysterio became my favorite just because I loved the ultimate underdog.
Yeah.
That sort of became the, ooh, what's he going to do this week?
Everybody loves a good underdog and at this story.
Point, Stone Cold and Rock had dialed back.
Yeah.
And the Hardy Boys, Dudley's, Edge, and Christian, they'd all separated and, left. Or,
I think Jeff should have gotten more than he got, though. Knowing what he was dealing with at the time, I understand, but he was so honestly unbelievably talented.
The one that I thought got less than he deserved was Christian. I mean, look at how long it took for him to get a world title.
That's true.
And he did not lack in personality like Matt Hardy.
No, he didn't.
Bubba Ray Dudley.
Not at all.
Speaking of the Dudleys and getting back to The Rock, back when Bubba had a stutter and they came down and
we are the
it doesn't matter.
I love that.
I mean, it's so horrible nowadays. But back then, it was just how
it was hysterical.
Were. And then, like Mick Foley, that guy could do anything, personality-wise. he had limited quote unquote wrestling ability.
But he's the only person that legally has been in a Royal Rumble 4 times and thrown out 4 times.
I think it was only three. I think it was the three personalities. I don't think he entered as himself.
I thought he entered as Mick Foley.
That was a different year.
Oh.
He was a surprise entrant. He attacked somebody backstage, and Austin, as commissioner, sent him out. And he went after Randy Orton and eliminated himself. But Randy Orton ended up becoming my favorite, and it's because of his randomness. Like, not just the RKO. I mean, the RKO is awesome. I love seeing it, especially all the different variations they come out with. But it was just his random character breaks that, because he's, this psycho character, fit. Like, he can do something that's not in character and have it be in character.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
it's
he
just
can.
so freaking funny. Like, at one point when he was feuding with Jinder Mahal, and he like was doing a back body drop on one of the Singh brothers, and the dude did a backflip, and he's just like, ugh. And then I can't remember who it was against. I think it was Kane. They were on the announce table, and the announce table gave way, and he got his legs stuck in the thing, and he was pretending to be hurt, and he's like, ah. But the thing that I love most about Randy Orton, he RKO'd Mark Henry and did the freaking splits in midair. He just jumped up and went, wee! And then he like pumped his fist, and Christian's in the corner like, what the fuck just happened? Like, why'd you do that? But this is going to sound really weird. The first time that I looked at Randy Orton, I'm like, oh, that guy's going to be something. Rey Mysterio was facing somebody. I don't remember if it was Finley, but he went, he did the 619, they bounced whatever, and he was going to go up on the top rope, and Orton slid in the ring, hit the RKO, and then he got up and he just sort of like did like a little two bounce, and then rolled out of the ring and just walked away. And that was what did it for me. I'm like, that was cool. Like, he did his thing, but he put some pizzazz on it. And then that started me on him. And I've kind of come, like, Kevin Owens is kind of the new Randy Orton for me on that one. He can somehow just do random things and have it work. Now, a lot of times he'll do them, you'll see it like live events that'll be recorded. Like the one time Randy Orton was doing his thing in the corner, Kevin Owens went to a different corner behind him and started doing it. Randy looked back and he like jumped off the ropes. The one he was with Ezekiel, and they had that big feud, and then Elias came back.
Yeah.
Well, Elias was like, oh, I need your help, and he's like, oh, really, yeah, because your brother, who, if isn't you, like I'm pretty sure he is, we didn't like each other, and now you come to me and you want my help. I wait, and then he walks away, and then he comes back, wait, and then walks away again. He has that it factor of personality where he can do a lot with little.
I didn't like him originally.
I didn't either, but
he was really, really
bland, boring heel.
Yeah, boring heel.
Like Evolution Triple H.
Yeah,
was the most boring Triple H has ever been.
Yes,
but I've seen clips of Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Jean-Paul Levesque when he was doing his aristocrat thing. That was also boring. But going back to them, the two of them, when they came together, I became huge fans. Because their personality came out.
Yeah.
Edge. After the whole thing with Matt Hardy and Lita, couldn't stand him.
Me neither.
I was like, I don't hate you because you're a heel. I hate you because you're a crap person.
Yeah.
But he was so good at being a heel. I hated that I was hating him for the wrong reasons. You know, I started hating him because he was such a good heel that I loved him
As a heel.
because and then it's like, well, wait a second. I'm hating him because I want to hate him as a character, not because I thought he was a piece of crap. Oh, crap. He did so good at I actually don't dislike him anymore.
Yeah, he became hard to dislike.
You know, like he just and he said in an interview once, you know, it's like, well, everybody was going to hate me anyway. Why not just, you know, lean into it and try to make the best of a horrible situation? And he did.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Like, oh God, between him, Triple H, and Cena, it was right after uh, the WrestleMania where Edge speared Mick Foley through the flaming table.
Oh God.
And like if you ever watch interviews with Adam Copeland, the guy's actually really funny.
Oh, he is. He's hilarious.
And like he was talking about it, he said, you know, I'm running towards him. I was like, oh God, what am I doing? Mick's got on like 4 layers. I don't have a shirt. Mick's going to fall with his back. I'm gonna go into it with my face. But it was I don't know if it was the Raw after or the like the following one.
Uh-huh.
And they're all I think it was probably the Raw after Mania. That's always the big thing. And then you know it was Cena and Triple H and Edge and with Lita, and they were all out there, and Edge and Triple H were going back and forth, and he's like, you know, oh well, I actually won my match, and Triple H is like, yeah, you know, funny thing though, you know, I took I took a 2 minute nap, and damn it, I missed it. And it was, you know, even after they split, he worked with other characters so well. Um,
Rated RKO.
oh god, I love when they came to the ring. Rated RKO came to the ring dressed as Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and they were making fun of him. And then, of course, the real Triple H and Shawn Michaels came down, and Triple H he said that Randy Orton was the #1 trending search on WWE.com. You know, Randy gives a smile. And he said, or at least in the gay community. And then Randy was like, no, no, enough, enough. I want you one-on-one tonight. And Triple H is like, well, you may want me, but I'm not batting from that side of the plate, if you know what I'm saying. And then Edge is like, no, that's enough. You know what he means. He wants you in this ring so he can beat your ass. Triple H looks at him and says, what did you just say he wanted to do to my ass? It's
It's those kind of interactions,
yes,
man.
that is what gets me. When you have people who work so well together that it just feels fluid. It's just fun. The segment with uh Triple H, he's talking to Shawn Michaels in the back, and he's like, well, Eric Bischoff says we don't know controversy. Well, we don't know controversy. What does it mean we don't know? Calm down, Shawn. Don't tell me to calm down. What's your name? Stan. See, I just kicked Stan. Calm down, Shawn. Don't tell me to calm down. And he just goes through the hallways, kicking people, papers flying everywhere. When when Shawn Michaels knew how to talk to Crime Time outside the arena.
Yeah.
And when they were brought into Little People Court by Hornswoggle.
Oh my God, that was so funny.
Okay, speaking of so funny, I want to bring this up because of Hornswoggle. Also, 2 people that I would love to have in a promo together, and these are 2 people that have become my favorites because strictly their humor. Santino and R-Truth.
Oh, That would be comic gold.
Oh, you have the little Jimmy. Ah, is he also a fan of the John Cena?
I have the Viper.
But that's what I love. It's just those interactions, and the best part about them is they knew how to sell in a way that was crazy, but also funny and not just like, man, this is stupid. Well, unless you consider Shawn Michaels versus HBK, that was a little over the top.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, there was one match, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and I want to say it was, well, I know it was Ric Flair, but I think it was Orton. And Triple H came down, got a boot to the face, and he just like stood wobbling for like a good minute and a half. And Shawn Michaels is over on the corner, like waving for him to like fall down, but he won't fall down. And then finally, when Triple H like, oh, okay, I'm good, he falls down, and then Shawn Michaels like, boom, like they just knew how to work together.
They did. They knew how to work together. They knew how to work the crowd, and they knew how to get the reaction that they were looking for, no matter what it is that they were doing.
All right, so I'd say that covers a first.
Yeah, I would say that covers a lot of ground in
It
letting.
at least showed why we love it and what got us into it,
Yes.
and we can delve into something different next time.
Yeah, yeah. We'll get into some of the current happenings. Maybe cover a couple other topics on the way. But we hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and we hope we'll, you know, get a few of you guys listening to us. And if you do enjoy us, then by all means share us out. We have some other channels that we do geeky stuff on. We got funny stuff. We got awesome stuff. You can find our Geekosity podcast channels pretty much everywhere. You can find Sarcasm Network. Uh, you know, all of our platforms are open and available at any given point.
Well, I think that does it for me.
Cool, cool. So I would say until next time,
Until next time.
later, y'all.
Ding, ding, ding.